All right, what is going on, everybody? We got some more NBA Cup games presented by Emirates to go over, some to preview at the end. Um, we're going to talk about Hawks, Knicks, and Rockets, Warriors. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment them down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you. Um, we're going to touch on this Hawks Knicks game a little bit. The more decisive game, the more controversial game, I would say is obviously Warriors Rockets. We'll talk a little more in depth about that because of the implications of that loss for the Warriors. And the conversation around the loss is a bit more interesting to me than this Knicks Hawks game, but I'm here to cover everything, all the big time games, so we are going to cover this one first. The Hawks got the victory 108 to 100. Um, let's see here. This was a classic over the past few years Hawks and Knicks game. Very competitive, very entertaining to watch. Um, for the Knicks, the highest score was surprisingly Josh Hart with 21. He was 3 for 5 from three and 8 for 12 overall from field goal in 34 minutes. All the starters played 34 minutes. That's no surprise. Um, Miles Bridges with 19, Karl Towns with 19 points, 19 rebounds. Jalen Brunson with 14. Not a great night for him. We'll get into that. And OG Anunoby with 13. Um, off the bench, they had Precious with 2, Campaign with 7, and Miles McBride with 5. Um, yeah, this was a bad game for Jalen Brunson, um, because he was getting locked up by the Great Barrier Thief, the Australian Dyson Daniels. Um, good game for Dyson. A masterclass on how to guard Jalen Brunson. I was just talking about a couple weeks ago, or even a week ago maybe, that like how hard it is to stop Jalen Brunson, and the young Australian did it. You gotta give him a round of applause for locking up Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was 5 for 15 overall from field goal and 2 for 6 from three, 8 assists. But when nobody's in 20 points except Josh Hart, there's a problem. I mean, Cat was close with 19. Cat was hustling on those boards. Cat had a great defensive game, but you just needed just a little bit more offensively, just a touch bit more. Miles Bridges, Mikal Bridges with 19. His 3 pointer has been coming and going this season. He was 1 for 3 from three, 9 for 17 overall from field goal. Um, and I talked about it before. This Hawks team plays really good without Trae Young, and they play maybe a percent worse with Trae Young out there simply because Trae Young is a defensive liability. But what he brings on offense is so important for the rest of the guys to get easy buckets. DeAndre Hunter off the bench with 24. He had a couple. He had a couple great dunks, great lobs from Trae Young. One that really sealed the game at the end there. Um, and the real deciding quarter of this game was the end of the third, going into the fourth when the Hawks got the lead. Um, it was a bit of a stalemate there going throughout the third, but towards the end, once the Hawks broke through that barrier, they really just took over the game and pushed it. Obviously, this wasn't a blowout win for the Hawks, but it was a good win nonetheless for them. They moved to 14-12 on the season, and they're heading to Las Vegas. And the Knicks um, worsened to 15-10 on the season. Um, for the Hawks, however, Jalen Johnson had 21, 15 rebounds. Hey, I didn't see Jalen Johnson coming. Shout out everybody that did. I did not see this from Jalen Johnson. Clint Capella with a double double as well, 11 and 13. Trae Young with a double double, 22 and 11. Um, they didn't shoot the three particularly well either. Their only good shooter out there last night was DeAndre Hunter, 4 for 5, which is not out of character, but a bit surprising at times when he hits the three. Um, let's see here what else we got. And you got Dyson Daniels, the Great Barrier Thief again. 9 points, 7 rebounds, or seven, yeah, 7 rebounds. Yeah, made 1 3 and 4 for 10 overall. And all these guys played big minutes, except the rookie Zachary Richachet, who only played 17. Um, Johnson played 41, Clint Capella played 25, Trey Young played 36, and Dyson Daniel played 36. Um, the rookie Richachet had 2 points, 2 assists. Um, yeah, this was just a game of this was a game of inches. It really was. Um, you gotta tip your hat to Gwen Snyder, the Hawks coach. You gotta Trey really plays it in a different mode when he's in New York, man. When he's in the Garden. Um, just to go over some team stats. When I say it was a game of inches, it really was. Um, the Hawks made 9 out of 31 threes, and the Knicks made 11 out of 42. Um, they just made a couple more, and the Hawks shot, what was that, 3% better at 29, and the Knicks shot 26. Like what? Free throw percentage was only differentiated by 5. Um, the rebounds were very similar. The Hawks had the edge on the offensive boards, but the Knicks only got one more defensive board at 37 to the Hawks 36. Both had 27 assists. Um, Steals, blocks, relatively similar in the ballpark, only differentiated by 3 or 4. Um, Turnovers, the Hawks had less turnovers, turnovers than the Knicks, and the Hawks had way more fast break points. That was the point of the night, was they had 10 more fast break points with 20 to the Knicks 10, and they had the same amount of fouls. No techs were assessed. Um, the largest lead was 14 for the Hawks, and the largest lead for the Knicks was 12. So this was just one of those games you knew coming in. When I was talking about it yesterday, I was like, I don't know who's going to win. This is the first time I'm going to say I don't know. I usually give a pick. I have to give a pick. I did say if the Hawks were fully healthy, I would take the Hawks. And I was right. So if you want to count that as a win for me, kind of as a win for me. But Hawks are definitely not. I wouldn't say the real deal, but they are somebody um, I wouldn't want to play. They got depth. They got young energy, and they got some somewhat veteran talent. So yeah, that is the Hawks and Knicks, and the Hawks are heading to Las Vegas to play for the NBA Cup against the Bucks later this week. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now to my favorite game of the night, the most controversial game of the night. Rockets and Warriors, another rivalry game. The Hawks and the Hawks, the Rockets and the Warriors have been going at it for years, dating back to the James Harden era. Um, this was what I expected out of this game. I said the Rockets were gonna win, and they did. They won. They got the victory, 91 to the Warriors 90. They improved to 17-8 on the season, while the Warriors, uh, I guess, don't improve. They stay stagnant, and they're on a 3 game losing streak on the road. Um, 14-10 on the season. Um, we can talk about some of the numbers. I really just want to talk about the refereeing and the end of the game. Um, High scores for the Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga with 20, Steph Curry with 19, Buddy Hield with 15. Um, Nobody else was in double digits. And for the Rockets, the young, hungry Rockets, Jabari Smith Jr. with 15, Alperen Sengun with 26 and 11, and Jalen Green with 12, and Ahmed Thompson. That's Ahmed Thompson, right? I believe that's Ahmed. Um, Let me just check. Yeah, Ahmed Thompson, um, 10 points. What do I have to say about this game? The game was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. Um, this might have been my game of the year. if the refereeing wasn't so bad at the end. Um, these Rockets, man, these Rockets are. I don't want to say they're the real deal because they are still pretty young and they don't have the experience. I mean, they have Fred VanVleet, they have Dylan Brooks who do have that experience, but the younger guys really don't. They do have a Holiday brother on the bench as well, and they do have Steven Adams who didn't play. But I don't see him going far in the playoffs. But again, I feel like a broken record. This is a team I really don't want to see. Um, they're just going to be a pain in the butt. They're just going to be bad. Bad in a good way, where it's just going to be annoying. You're going to think you have a game, and then they're going to come out and score like 10 unanswered points. And that's exactly what they did in the fourth quarter. Going into the half of this game, the second half of this game, the Warriors had the most turnovers of the season for them. I think it was up 14, and the Rockets only made 1 3 in the first half. So both teams were really doing their thing. They're both highly rated defensive teams. I think both are in the top five, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not after this game, but last night they both were. Um, and yeah, the Rockets the Rockets got some breaks. The Warriors got some breaks at the end, or I should say, like more in the second half, not so much at the end. But I gotta talk about the foul on I believe it was Draymond or Kaminga when Jalen Green was on the floor. Um, after after the botched play, uh, Gary um Gary Payton the second gets the ball. He has it on the ground. He rolls it out. I don't know why he rolled it out and didn't take a timeout, or Steve Kerr didn't take a timeout, or somebody on the coaching staff took a timeout. I don't know what happened there. He rolls it out to um, about near the logo and the 3 point arc, and Jalen Green dives on it, and some Warriors players get on it, and they call it a foul, and they send Jalen Green to the line, and that's what sealed the game. He made both of the free throws. I I don't know in what world do you call a foul on a ball on the floor at the end of a game. Call it a jump ball, call it a whatever. And Jalen Green was trying to take a timeout too. So like the refs didn't care. They were like, "Here's the foul. Take the foul." You know what I mean? And it was sort of ridiculous. And I think even if it was the other way around and somebody else got the ball and the Warriors got the free throws, I think it would have been ridiculous. I think both ways it would have been ridiculous. And I think it's just the consistency of the refereeing in this game was bad, and that's been kind of the story for the um for the past couple of years. Is like it's so inconsistent. There used to be certain things that were like the rule of law, and now it's so wishy washy where when the refs use the rule of law and when they don't, and when they use their own discretion, you know. And players always say this is more in playoff games where oh they let you play more, they let you play more, they let you play more, they let you play more. I get there's safety of players and stuff, and there's all this stuff that needs to follow certain rules for protection of players, but you gotta let these guys play, man. In a tough game like this, in an NBA Cup game, when you want these games to matter and you want people to like watch these games, this is the BS that just can't go on because it makes people disinterested in the product, and you're trying to sell a newer product too, so it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you let the refs do this? Um, we can go to the the team stats here. The Warriors had let me just make sure. The Warriors had 11 fouls, and the Rockets had 14 um, points off turnovers. Um, the Warriors had them beat by 12, 30 to 18. Um, turnovers. The Warriors had 22. The Rockets had 17. I will give the Rockets credit. They played some stellar defense, pardon me, in the second half. Going down the stretch, they forced the Warriors to turn over the ball 3 times in a row. I believe they just couldn't get anything, and that was part of the problem. Is why this game got so close and why it came down to the refs making these calls is because the Warriors just could not stop the bleeding, you know, and that's usually the other team going on the run when you use that analogy. They couldn't stop the bleeding because the Rockets just kept binding them up. They kept like bandaging them up, and they just couldn't get they wouldn't even hit the rim. They wouldn't even get a shot. It would just be in somebody's hand, and the time would expire. So you got to give the Rockets credit for that. Um, Nobody shot the three well this game. The Warriors hit 12. The Rockets hit 6. Um, Free throws, the attempts were the same. The Rockets made more. Um, and the rebounds were about the same, defensive and offensive. The assists were about the same. This was just a close game overall. I encourage you to go watch the highlights, or if you have access to it, watch the whole game in its entirety. It was a really good game. Um, and that sort of brings us to. I'm not even going to talk about the rest of these numbers. Congrats to the Rockets. They're heading to um, Vegas to play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Will be a must-watch game. Um, yeah, shout out to this Rockets team, man. As a Steph Curry fan, I was very disappointed with the play of the Warriors, but what are you gonna do? Um, Anyways, this brings us to the latter part of this game, and like I alluded to in the beginning, the implications of this game. Um, the implications of this game is that the Warriors definitely need to make a trade of some variety. Now, what's been floated out there is a trade with the Nets for some of their role players because the Nets are trying to be bad. They're trying to tank. They get a higher pick. It's a better draft than it was last year, so they want a good pick. Or the big name that's been connected to the Warriors and a realistic big name, and I'm not. I should preface it with that is Jimmy Butler. Um, I don't know what would be better for them, for the Warriors. I hopped on the trade machine last night in preparation for this video. Um, by the numbers, and there are a lot of the trades are so weird now because of the second apron and everything. I don't know how the second apron works fully. I don't know. Sometimes a team can't aggregate contracts, and this and that and the third. That was not the case for the Warriors, um, but it was the case for the Heat when you're trying to do a three-team deal to acquire a majority of the Nets' talent and Jimmy Butler. It is just simply impossible um, to do it monetarily. Um, I'm gonna just say the trade that I cooked up last night in the lab. This is for Jimmy Butler. Um, the Warriors would get Jimmy Butler, and the Heat would get Andrew Wiggins, Gary Payton II, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, and Santos. Um, I think the Heat would do this. Um, and if you're saying where's Moses Moody, Moses Moody cannot be traded this season because he signed a deal after training camp. So he is ineligible to be traded this year. Um, does that he could be traded in the offseason is what I'm trying to say, but that doesn't help the Warriors right now when the Steph Curry clock is ticking. Um, you're giving up Jonathan, you're giving up Gary Payton, not you're giving up Gary Payton, you're giving up Brandon, and you're giving up Wiggins. Um, this is a trade for the Heat for the now in Andrew Wiggins and Gary Payton and the like. This is also a trade for the future for the Heat in the sense of Brandon Podziemski. If you like Brandon, I'm not the biggest Brandon Podziemski believer. Um, and Jonathan Kaminga, who is potentially a rising star. I don't see it. I don't see. They were talking about it last night on the broadcast that he's been getting more minutes because the Warriors think he is the future. I just don't see it. I really want to see it. I really want to see Jonathan Kaminga thrive somewhere. I just don't think it's with the Warriors, and I don't think it's under Steve Kerr as a coach. Um, this is the trade for Jimmy Butler. This is the Jimmy Butler trade makes sense when you look at games tonight where Steph Curry is the only one who can make shots and create shots. And you know it's going into his hand at the end of the game. Um, to quickly circle back to the game, I forgot to mention this. The play that Steve Kerr drew up for the last play of the game for the Warriors to try to win the game, god awful. One of the worst executed, one of the worst. I have no idea why Brandon Podzinski was inbounding the ball. I don't know why it wasn't Draymond. It was bad. Um, I just wanted to say that. And everybody knew it was going to Steph. So Jimmy Butler would solve that problem where it would be, oh, we know there's two options out there now. We know there's two options out there now. That would solve that problem. Jimmy Butler hasn't necessarily been the healthiest player over the last couple seasons, but you take it where you can get it, really. Guys like Jimmy Butler don't come across the trade market that often, even though he has been traded a few times. Um, let's um let's hop into this Nets trade real quick, and then we'll talk about the NBA semifinal, NBA Cup semifinal games coming up. This is a three-teamer. The names connected to the Warriors, I forgot to say, is Dennis Schroeder, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is on a big contract and would be hard to trade um, for if you're the Warriors without getting a third team involved. And that would probably mean not getting Jimmy Butler and just getting Schroeder, Johnson, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Um, this is the three-teamer I cooked up. Same package for the Heat: Wiggins, Payton, Kaminga, Podzinski, and Santos. Um, and the Nets would get D'Anthony Melton and Larson from the Heat. D'Anthony Melton can't be traded to the 15th of this month of December. Um, that's no problem. You just wait on that, and he's an expiring deal. The Nets really just want a pick. That's what I heard. That's the latest report for Schroeder. They just want the first pick, first round pick. Um, I think if they get Larson and they get Melton's an expiring. Larson's on a 1 year, 3 year, $1 million deal. Um, very minimal risk, very low cost, and you get a first round pick out of it, and you get the tank. Um, and the Warriors would be getting Schroeder and Butler. Like I said at the beginning, the Warriors can't really get Butler and a haul from the Nets. They would need to either just do the Butler trade and figure out another way to bolster the bench because you are losing a lot of bench depth when you trade for Jimmy Butler, or you just do the Nets deal and you try to get Johnson, Schroeder, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Um, I think when you look at nights tonight, Jimmy Butler solves a majority of their problems, but long term, maybe you can get Schroeder in the off season, and Jimmy Butler, he has a player option at the end of this year, gets his player option, you renegotiate his deal, blah 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 blah. Um, so yeah, that is the implication of the Warriors' loss, and the other implication of the Warriors' loss is that, like I said, the Rockets are heading to Las Vegas to play OKC, and the Hawks are playing the Bucks um, in Vegas. Um, who do I have winning these games? Because we are a bit dry for games tonight, Thursday night, and tomorrow, Friday night. Um, oh man, I'm gonna take the Hawks against the Bucks, and I'm gonna take the not the Rockets, the OKC Thunder against the Rockets. Though, I will say this: I think the more entertaining finals game for the NBA Cup would be Hawks Rockets, but I think OKC is a bit of an edge on the Rockets right now. But yeah, those are my picks. That's me talking about last night's games. Um, you probably won't get a review for this NBA Cup game. Um, I'll probably wait till the final game, and we can talk about this previous game and the finals matchup on Monday. We'll get a video though this weekend. Probably something I'll pull out, um, just a topic. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Like I said, if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. Love to have you. Cheers.